Page 128, Barcarolle. We have another ensemble piece. This is arranged a little differently than what we had before. We had one earlier where each part was printed out separately. Now, this is normally the kind of music, that kind of music is what you'd see with an ensemble of different musical instruments, and each instrument that have their own part printed out in their page, and then they all just fit together. Well, this is another way of doing it, more like a conductor score. If there were a conductor doing their thing, this is the kind of music they would look at, because there they got all the parts where they can see all the parts and how they fit together and how everything lines up. And so let's talk about this, because this is a trick to get to at first. You're not accustomed to seeing this kind of score music. This is different. You have 5 staves. There's only one grand staff in the group, because there's only two of those staves are connected with a curly brace. You see that? It's important. So what we have is we have part 1 at the top staff, part 2, and then part 3 is both of those. The grand staff that's one part, and then part 4 is the bottom staff. So this is like, well, you can have different instruments playing. The piano would play, or the keyboard would play the grand staff part, and then the other instruments would play the other parts. It could be any instrument that can play in that range. So the first 2 parts could be any instrument that can play, clarinet, flute, saxophone, whatever, oboe, whatever, doesn't matter. And then the bottom part would be the bass, some bass instrument. It could be a tuba, baritone, trombone, what other instruments, a string bass, and they would play the bottom part. And then you'd play it all together as an ensemble. Well, the only part we're really interested in as far as this video goes is the third part, the piano part, the keyboard part. That's our part. Somebody else would play the other parts. The trick is, can you learn to read your part out of a score like this? Because you're not reading all the staves. Well, if you look at the beginning of this, there is a vertical line that connects all these staves together. That tells you everything's played at the same time. They all go across. And you get to the end of the line, and then you go down to the next line, and at the beginning of the line there's another vertical line that connects them all. And that's important, because that means they're all played at the same time. If that vertical line were not connected all the way through, you wouldn't play them all at the same time. And that's what I'm trying to get across. When you see this kind of music, you have to be able to pick out your part out of the whole mess and stick with it, even when you go from line to line to line and page to page to page. Can you find your part out of that whole thingy? So here it's a little easier. You're looking for that curly brace. That's your part. And because they may not be numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. They were nice of them to number them that way. And a lot of times they'll have some indication of what they are, but they don't have to. So it's up to you to know, well, which one of these lines is mine. And you get this. Now what probably happens in the actual music, if you get something like this, is each of these other 3 parts would have their own individual printed part. They wouldn't have this. But the conductor would have this, and many times, because I've done piano and ensembles before, many times the piano player also gets something like this, similar to what the conductor gets. So the piano player can see it. Not always. Sometimes the piano player just gets their part. That's it. But many times they also get something like this. So you have to be able to play something like this, reading this mess. So let's talk about the piano part. Let's just cover that. I'm assuming there's other people around or somewhere, or somebody's going to arrange to have these other parts covered. So part 3, that's where we are, right? We're in treble clef and bass clef, 3/4 time. And generally speaking, when you have multiple parts like this, the time signature will be the same. They're not going to mix time signatures. The key signature may not be the same. The key signature could be different for different parts. It's not important. What's important is your part. Your key signature for this is F major, 1 flat. And that's what we're after here. So 3/4 time, as I said, and the right hand you have a rest. Rest, 2, 3. That's a 1 chord. Right? And the next one you got a C7, down to you jump down to the bottom, you see where the curly brace is. That's, you got to learn to get your eye down right there and find that real quick. And then C7, and you go over to page 129 at the top again. Find the lines where the curly brace is, because that's where you're interested. And you have the 1 chord and the C7, and then you jump down to the bottom where the curly brace is. You got the 1 chord. That's all we're doing, isn't it? Well, this is fun. And the left hand, you just got these dotted half notes, and they're tied. You can hang it down, hang on to it, whatever you do it for 6 counts. And then the C chord, or C note, excuse me, the C, and then this is about all you're doing for your part. Oh, this is exciting, isn't it? Well, you obviously don't have the melody. Some other part has the melody. Well, that tells you right there, if the conductor doesn't, is you need to keep your part down. Play your part. They're saying medium loud. Well, if you look at, they're all medium loud. No, we don't want them all medium loud. We want to hear the melody, and it's up to the conductor now to balance out the ensemble so the dynamics is right. So just know it, take it upon yourself. Play your part a little softer. If the conductor wants it louder, they'll tell you, play out a little louder, and then you can. Otherwise, keep it soft, because you're just filling in harmony here. So, yeah. I'm guessing the melody is the top part. It usually is. If you want to hear what the melody sounds like, play it. That would be the melody. And everything else needs to be under it. Now, there is a note on your part at the beginning. Above it, right hand, RH, right hand, 1 octave lower than written throughout. So it's here, you're going to come down here and play it. Don't know why they did just put a bass clef there in that part and put it all in bass clef. You can have both of your stabs in bass clef. And anyway, you're down here. Throughout, so you're going to be down here. That's all it is. The left hand just stays right where it's at. It's fine. And that's how you would do it. See, there's notes on these other things too. The top one, it can go an octave higher. It can go up here. Because the second part's going to be here. And then the bottom part, it says go an octave lower, which would be here. If it's a string bass, it doesn't need to do that because a string bass is tuned an octave lower. So a string bass sees this note, it's going to sound that automatically. If it doesn't, you have to consider the instrument that's doing the playing. And that's this piece. I don't know that we need to go over anything. It's pretty simple. It's this, the idea, can you get from line to line and page to page and find your part in time to keep the beat going, because now you got to stay with 3 other people. That can be a lot of fun. I enjoy ensemble playing very much. Now you see at the bottom of page 129 there's repeat signs. There has to be one for each staff. You don't want one thing repeating and another not, or whatever, which means you're going to play the whole thing twice, and that's what you would do, I'm sure. I'm not going to do a play with me on this because it's pretty, you got 1 chords and or F chords and C7 chords. I think you can handle that. Huh?